Alright, let's go into all we need to know about Demacian.
In this video, you will learn everything you need to know to get started on the story of Demacian.
Let's go.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new video series where we cover the basic story of each region of League of Legends. This series will be aimed at people who don't know a lot about the lore of League of Legends, and they are looking for a good starting point. But if you already know the lore really well, at least we can use this video to summarize all the lore that remained canon. So, without further ado, let's have a look at our first region, Demacian. Because Demacian is the youngest region of Runeterra, the history of Demacian begins during the Rune Wars, which was about 1000 years ago. I don't want to bother you too much with the full history of Runeterra, because Demacian has a complicated story on its own, but the TLDR version of the story is that celestial beings created Runeterra using the world runes. But after an accident, these runes were lost and scattered across the very planet they created. Millennia passed, ancient kingdoms fell, the Darkin Wars turned the world upside down, and new kingdoms rose. And it was after Mordekaiser tried to conquer the world that the Rune Wars truly began. Around the world, people started discovering the world runes. And allegedly, in self-defense, people started using them to nuke their neighboring nations.
just fucking nuke.
City were in danger, and people started fleeing away from all the big regions. Eventually, as these refugees fled to the west, they stumbled upon an unusual forest that had the ability to absorb magic. It was a safe place where the Rune Wars couldn't harm anyone. Later, these refugees figured out how to combine the bark of these trees together with ash and limestone to create petricite, a white stone-like material that mitigated all magic. And it was with the help of petricite...
I'm very surprised that's like... You would think, like, for example, Garen's armor would be made with it, right? With petricite. Maybe it's just too heavy of a material to actually make like weapons with it and armor, because like you would literally like use that to go to war all the time.
That the kingdom of Demacian was built.
I'm sure you can, but it's like it doesn't translate well into, like, let's say League of Legends. Like, let's say if everyone who from Demacian had petricite as part of their armor, it would be very unbalanced in League of Legends. Like, oh, everyone who's Demacian has like natural 5% magic damage reduction or some shit like that, or like 10% or whatever.
All magic. That's why Demacian are mostly white.
This might be in the MMO. I honestly hope they don't do any racials in the MMO. No like racial pass. Like, oh, 1% less damage, 1% less damage taken for magic. Like, no, none of that. No racials. Like, the only racials you can have is like cosmetic stuff. I'm fine with that.
The person responsible for the first settlements in the Petricite Forest and the person who oversaw the construction of Demacian was Orlon. Orlon was a man who wielded a legendary hammer that gave incredible power to its rightful owner.
Oh, that's Poppy's hammer?
Orlon wasn't the rightful owner, and he was on a quest to find the right person. After he died, Poppy grabbed his hammer to continue his quest. However, it is likely that Poppy is the rightful owner, even though she doesn't know it. A couple of years later, Demacian became...
Kinda like how Fate plays... how Fate's weaving hands have a way, you know?
Rune Wars. And people from all over the world traveled here. One such important man was Kilem of Mount Targon. Since the Rune Wars really raged all over the world, even people around Mount Targon were...
I really hope they had ships back then, because otherwise, man, this trip... It's like, fuck that. I really hope he had like a way to just like trespass this fucking water. Maybe even like this, you know? Go up here and like... Tit.
Since the Rune Wars really raged all over the world, even people around Mount Targon weren't safe. And so, in hopes of saving their village, and despite the fact that they were expecting a child, Kilem and his pregnant wife Mira climbed the legendary Mount Targon. There the gods would help them. When they reached the peak, Mira was chosen as a vessel for the aspect of justice.
I don't know why, I felt like his wife is gonna be something... I actually thought this would be the first Pantheon, but like... Yeah, Scale is also fine.
After that, the twin sisters Gale and Morgana were born.
Yeah.
Since Mira was now a fearsome warrior greater than any mortal, Kilem began to fear her new divinity.
That's how it is. Fear the woman that gained power.
Mira was fighting battles on battlefields far away. So in order to protect his two daughters, Kilem waited for Mira to leave once more, and he fled with both daughters across the sea.
Oh
From
boy.
this point on, we don't know what happened to Mira. Kilem raised his two daughters in Demacia, until the day Mira's blade fell from the heavens and landed in front of Gale and Morgana.
Oh.
It split in two, and each one of the sisters picked up one half. That's how Gale and Morgana became the twin aspects of justice.
But Morgana gave her sword to Kale after, no?
Gale quickly embraced their new calling, and she rallied an order of judicators on the peak of Silvermare, with a man called Ronas being Gale's champion. Together, Gale and her new followers would enforce the law and punish all sinners. A few battles later, while protecting their kingdom, Gale and Morgana became known as the Winged Protectors. And they are the reason why Demacia uses a lot of angelic wings in their architecture, including Galio, but more on that later. On the other hand, Morgana was trying to understand the sinner's point of view, instead of punishing them straight away. And for this, Gale's Judicators started distancing themselves from Morgana more and more. And in the end, because Morgana was acting against their laws, Ronas himself tried to imprison Morgana. But since she had no other choice, Morgana had to kill Ronas in order to protect the innocent. This caused Gale to go on a justice-driven rampage, and she called the rain of divine fire on the city.
Oh my god, bro.
Allegedly to purge the city of all sinners. Unfortunately, Morgana...
I like Kale less than... I, like, from the first story, I was like, Kale's a bit too, strong-headed. Here, she's even worse. Oh my god, bro. There's no justice in what she's doing, though. It's just tyranny at this point.
Anna couldn't stop her sister's rampage in time, and their father, Kilem, died that day.
Boy.
Gale smote him down for the crime of stealing his daughters away from their mother. After this, Gale flew into the heaven.
Wait, Kale killed her father because he took the daughters away from their mother. Interesting.
Morgana went into hiding after she threw away her blade and bound her wings with chains, and the
Yeah.
people of Demacia had even more reasons to fear even the divine magic.
Uh-huh.
Over the centuries, the stories of the twin aspects became just that. Stories.
Uh-huh.
Even there, Demacia remembers only one winged protector, with Morgana being all but forgotten.
Huh.
As centuries passed, the people
cool.
of Demacia started looking for ways
Kale's
to
fucking crazy, man.
beyond their patricide kingdom. That's why the legendary sculptor Durant was commissioned by the king to create Galio, a massive patricide statue that they could bring with them when fighting on faraway battlefields. There are two reasons why Galio looks the way he looks. Because it happened so long ago, depending on which Demacian you ask, some say his wings represent the Winged Protector, but others say he was sculpted after the native Silverwing Raptors. No one really knows what exactly Durant did to achieve this. But
Isn't Galio's, like, secondary name the Winged Protector? Oh no, he's the Colossus. No, never mind.
legends
My
say
bad.
that if Galio absorbs enough magic, he comes alive. Now, of course we know that patricide doesn't just mitigate magic, it absorbs it. But magic doesn't make patricide sentient. If that was the case, all buildings would start moving when under attack.
More importantly, so, well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's more importantly, but like, okay, those trees that they made patricide from, so those trees material was what was resistant to magic, but it wasn't actually resistant to magic, because the attribute shouldn't change. It should have been absorbing magic. The question is, why are those trees absorbing magic? I'm pretty sure like they probably didn't cover that, but there's always a reason. Like especially if it's a tree in nature, there's a reason for it to absorb magic, right? It's not just gonna like, well, yeah, I'm just a tree who absorbs magic. No. What's the purpose of your magic absorption abilities, right? There's always a purpose in nature. Nothing is just like, well, just because, right? Like plants absorb the sun, for vitamins and shit like that, for the vitamin D. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason these trees are absorbing magic. What do they do with it? No one knows. But no, it's kind of like neither here nor there.
Something special with Galio. We just don't know what. The only hint we got was an unreleased image of Duran's blueprints. Here we can see an image of Swain's demon. Interestingly enough, the same image was shown in Lux's comic. But there it didn't show the demon. So still, it is all just a massive speculation. And as Swain says,
his secret died with his sculptor.
A few more decades later, after the creation of Galio, the modern history of Demacia begins. And here is where all the present stories happen. Because Demacians in general have very bad experience with magic.
The Demacia looks sick as fuck though, by the way. Demacia looks like really, really cool place to just like, you know, look from above and just like never step into.
Either because of the Rune Wars or the Ascended that were meant to protect them, they became paranoid. And the new law bans the use of any magic whatsoever. What's worse, you don't even need to use it. You are not allowed to even be able to use magic.
Which is like, you can't even control.
Tough luck hiding it. Because Demacia has ways of finding out what you really are. Demacia
especially,
special enforcers called the Mage Seekers.
Magic usually inherited, best to make sure no one else is afflicted. I'm sorry you had to see that Miss Luxana, even though she has made none to apologize for making the kingdom safer.
Their job is to find mages inside Demacia. The Mage Seekers wear blue capes and silver half masks, so it is easy to distinguish them in the crowds. But what makes them special is that they usually carry a weapon of their choice and the Grey Mark. The Grey Mark is a disc made out of petricite, so it absorbs magic. And the Mage Seekers carry this Grey Mark to see if they are mages.
Makes sense.
Now, if anyone finds out you are a mage, one of three things can happen. Option 1. They kick you out of Demacia. Normally they just exile you beyond their borders. But here we should also mention their special case of exile. This isn't normally done to mages, but should anyone in the Demacian military severely break their laws, for example people died because they didn't follow an order, they would be sent specifically to Mount Targon, because the punishment for soldiers who break
so the dumbest punishment.
the laws is to climb the mountain. And usually, this was a death sentence.
Yeah.
Of course, most Demacian outlaws never climbed the mountain.
Why would they?
And start a new life somewhere else.
It's so dumb. That is probably like the most unthought of punishment that Demacia ever had. It's like, your punishment is to climb Mount Targon. Well, you're coming with me? Fuck no, I'm not fucking suicidal. It's okay, so like, we're not gonna wait here to see me climb either, so... Alright, leave me here and I'll decide what I do with my life.
But for example, Tariq did climb the mountain. He faced his punishment for letting his comrades die, he conquered the mountain,
fair enough.
And he became a vessel for an aspect.
Yeah.
Honestly, it is just cool to see that even though the legends of the Winged Protectors are mostly forgotten, the Demacians still remember their roots, and they use Mount Targon as a part of their culture. Anyway, let's get back to the punishments. Option 2, when someone finds out you're a mage. They try to purge you. The Demacians see magic as an affliction, and they try to cure it as if it was a disease. And most of the time,
burn it with
torture. By far the most cruel way to cure magic is to make the victim drink a petricite potion. This is a simple concoction with pieces of petricite in it. When a mage drinks it, they feel pain similar to their soul being ripped from their body. It's because magic is quite literally part of their body, and petricite would be ripping it out from the inside. The sad thing is that magic can't really be purged, so in the end the victims either die of exhaustion, are executed, or they are exiled. The last option when someone finds out you're a mage is that they straight up kill you where you stand. Oftentimes this is done by a mistake. Because the Demacians see mages as extremely dangerous, they don't hesitate to attack at the slightest sign of danger, even if nothing is happening. So with all of this said, is it safe to say that all Demacians are controlled by prejudice towards mages? No.
Not all.
And here is where the plot twist happens.
Yeah.
The interesting part comes in when you realize that a lot of the nobles and highborn Demacians are mages.
Yep.
And it is these hidden highborn mages that imprison other poor mages that got discovered.
Well, from what I understand, like the way magic happens, it's like it might be able to travel through generations, like a gene kind of thing, right? It's like consider like X-Men, right? It's like where you have like mutants, and it's like it's a mutant gene that happens. It doesn't have to happen on the next generation, but it can happen in some generations. So it's like the nobles, obviously they're in power, you know, so they can either hide it, they can pay off the superiors and all that stuff. So it's like, yeah, of course. And it's like, you can't control if your child is born as a magician, but what you can do is protect it with the power that you have as a noble.
This naturally fills Demacia with hypocrisy.
Oh, 100%.
It's actually the main plot point of Demacia right now.
Yeah, that should make sense.
Really
this is why I'm surprised that it's even a thing. It's like that they're so adamant about this, knowing exactly that's like a lot of the nobles. Because like, think about it this way. Even though the nobles are protecting like their families that are mages, their family can't just walk around in the open. Wouldn't you be like, yo man, like this really sucks, like I want to change Demacia so my kid can walk around public without being ashamed, you know, so his kids will be able to walk around their mages without being ashamed or like hide it or anything like that, right? So it's like, you would think more nobles would be like, you know what, like maybe this rule is kind of fucked up, you know, and pressure the king to change. Well, by the way, the king, I know about Jarvan the Third, but the Fourth is not really all about that magic stuff, like anti-magic stuff. Like, I don't think he cares that deeply about it. Like that, you know, like I'm pretty sure Jarvan the Fourth would be okay with like mages not being hated.
Surface when Silas came in. He was a boy with the ability to see mages.
Yeah.
In his eyes, people afflicted by magic would glow brightly. So of course, the Mage Seekers brought him to the capital city and used him for their cause.
Yep.
However, not only could Silas see the mages in the poor villages, but he also saw all the hidden highborn mages. And that was a problem, because this knowledge gave him a lot of power when he grew up. But Silas wasn't the only one who could literally see the hypocrisy. Because mages generally stay in hiding, they live in smaller villages and they help poor communities.
Yep.
Usually they use their magic to grow crops faster, hunt for food, or protect the village from monsters. As a result, these smaller villages appreciate mages, and they see the good in them. So right now, Demacia is in a civil war. The nobles of the capital city enforce laws that...
Is it an active civil war, or is it like a silent civil war though?
...ban all magic. While the common people fight for the mages' rights, because they are tired of their children being taken away simply because they were born afflicted.
And poor. Afflicted and poor, because if they're born afflicted and rich, not a problem.
This is
not much of a problem.
You need to understand all of Demacia. From this point on,
pretty much,
when the story you decide to read, it should always make sense to you.
Yeah.
But there are more interesting connections you should know about. So let's now explain the map of Demacia a little bit more.
Okay.
By looking at the map, you can see that Demacia is surrounded by mountains. This plays into the overall theme of living in isolation from all magic. The capital city of Demacia is simply called the Great City of Demacia. The reason for this is because Demacia was built as a single settlement in a forest.
Man, not to hate on like current day technology and stuff like that, but the world, like I'm not saying this is the world, but it's like the world used to be such a beautiful place before people. I'm just saying. It's like clean waters, nature, all that shit. I mean, fuck, I hate nature because nature likes to eat me too much, like bites and stuff. But like clean water, amazing beaches and stuff like that. It's like now it's like select few places in the world, you know?
Just one place. But it grew into a nation over time. The northern mountains are shared with
old bar gates.
Because of this, every now and then, the northern cities have to repel raids from the Freljordian barbarians.
Yeah.
And ever since Sejuani became the leader of the Winter's Claw, these raids became more frequent. But the most famous place for repelling Freljordians isn't in the north. It's actually a coastal city to the east.
Oh.
Dawnhold became famous after members of the legendary Dauntless Vanguard set entire fleets of Freljordian ships on fire. After this event that is now known as the Battle of Dawnhold, Freljordians rarely send their ships to attack Demacia. North of Dawnhold in the mountains, we can find Fosbarrow, named after Fossian Crown Guard, who was Garen's and Lux's great-grand...
Yeah, and it was Nocturne, clearly, yeah, from that story. It definitely was Nocturne.
This place can sometimes be called the Haunted Town, because it was haunted by a certain nightmarish demon. East of that we have High Silvermare. Not only is this the place where Lux and Garen grew up, but this place is also known for its Silverwing Raptors. Also, don't forget that according to the legends, Silvermare is where Kael started her Order of Judicators.
Oh.
Further up to northeast we have Uvendale. We know this town as one of the places
Juventus?
where we find
Nice.
the rightful owner of the Hammer of Orlon. Also, this town is where Quinn was born. Next, we should go further east, beyond the borders of Demacia.
Quinn was born pretty far from Demacia, like from the main city, but yeah.
You can notice that there is a place that doesn't belong to any region. Primarily, that's because it's a contested area. But it's also because there's
the middle.
actually a small nation...
Knockmirch.
And even though the Arbormark have powerful mages as their leaders, they've been allied with Demacia for many years. In fact, in a recent story, after the Demacian civil war started, Demacia asked Arbormark to send over one of their trusted mages to help them figure out how to stop Silas's rebellion. And of course, this Arbormark mage wouldn't be harmed as long as they respect Demacia's laws.
Yeah.
Going a little bit south from the northern mountains, there is supposed to be a town called Dragborn. This is where Silas was born, but as of right now,
No one knows where it is.
on the map. Next, we have Greenfang Mountains. This place is special because this is where Galio was awakened for the first time. South of the Greenfang Mountains, we have Torbisha, a city that was recently ruined by an earthquake. Lux traveled here with the Illuminators to help its citizens. The
Illuminatis?
are a group of people that help the sick and the poor. Even further south...
That's what the Illuminati does too, you know? It's like, we want equality for all. So everyone's sick and poor.
From that, we have Renwall, a castle where Jarvan helped Shyvana,
This you won't feel alone.
the Black Dragon Yiva. And lastly, we need to talk about a very special place that is still a little bit of a mystery. If you have seen the Call of Power cinematic, where Ryze is collecting world runes all around Runeterra, you may have noticed that at the beginning...
Yeah, he walks
walked
next to
in a
this, yeah.
ivory forest. This, of course, was the ancient Petricite forest that the Demacians harvested to craft Petricite. And it is under these trees that Ryze is storing the world runes. We can assume he stores them here because Petricite mitigates their magic. However, we are not sure if Ryze knows that the trees are absorbing it as well, and that he's slowly making a world rune empowered forest.
That's what I was saying. So it's like it is absorbing. It has to have a purpose that it absorbs it.
Also, in the cinematic, Ryze reveals an image that probably shows the past. But as of right now, we don't really know what it means. And
People worshipping a tree. The rise of the world trees, huh? Two mesas.
we don't even know who built the Demacian Vault. The last thing I want to do in this video is to quickly mention all champions connected to Demacia.
Okay.
Because sometimes people get surprised when they learn that their favorite champion belongs to a totally different nation than they thought.
Okay.
So, here's the full list. Poppy was there when the first Demacian settlement was constructed. Gale and Morgana were big parts of old Demacia. Lux and Garen are members of the Crown Guard family, which is a Demacian noble house. Lux is also a highborn
It's like the closest house to the king. This is like basically king's personal guard kind of thing. Well, you know, king's guard.
mage in hiding. But Garen is not. Garen's ultimate is actually not magic.
Yeah.
It is a reference to the fact that Demacians revere the aspect of justice. So in reality, the giant holy blade is just Gale answering his prayers. Silas escaped the Demacian prison.
If only Kel was able to answer his prayers while she's in game and actually use that sword as like her regular ascended attack, that would
And he kickstarted the Mage rebellion.
Can you imagine like Kel just like her E, which is like, I don't know, 4-second cooldown, 3-second cooldown, is just like Garen ults over and over, which kind of they kind of are because they have an execute in them, but it's like they're like mini versions.
Jarvan IV is a Demacian prince. His full name is Jarvan Lightshield.
Yeah.
Sona was an Ionian orphan that was brought to Demacia by a rich musician. Sona is also technically a mage in hiding.
There's some video about Sona's father. I need to watch that.
Even though Lucian spends most of his time traveling around Runeterra and hunting undead, he also comes from Demacia.
Yeah.
Fiora comes from House.
Well, so doesn't Senna as well come from Demacia? But now Senna is considered from the Hollows, right?
Which is a Demacian family of elite duelists.
Yeah.
Quinn is a hunter from Demacia's mountains. Shyvana simply stumbled upon Demacia when she was away from her cruel mother. She and Jarvan helped each other, and now Shyvana is allowed to stay in Demacia. But again, she is hiding her magical form. Vayne is also from Demacia. She is a monster hunter who's on a quest to slay the demon that killed her parents. Of course, that demon is actually Evelyn, who has her own cult of followers in the mountains of Demacia. Xin Zhao was an Ionian who was captured by Noxians and used in battles against Demacians.
See, like, stuff like this where it's like, I would say still Sona and Xin Zhao are Ionian. Still, like, their origin is Ionian. Just because they live here, because, like, well, you know, Ari's gonna be Demacian too, but...
That he was supposed to die in the first battle against Demacia, Xin Zhao decided to swap sides, and King Jarvan allowed it. So Xin Zhao now fights for Demacia. Galio is a petrified colossus created by Durant. He mostly sleeps near the capital city, and he is rarely awakened by magic. Nocturne is a demon who haunted Fosborough. Tariq was a Demacian soldier who didn't take his duty seriously, and he was sentenced to die at the peak of Mount Tariq.
He just wasn't challenged enough, man. He was just way too good. It's fucking Fabio.
Velkos is roaming the contested area to Demacia.
Okay.
Occasionally, he attacks Demacian settlements.
Okay.
And finally, during his adventures around Runeterra, Ezreal also visited Demacia.
Okay, just because he visited.
But Lux barely remembers who he even is. And this, ladies
He's just a fanboy.
and gentlemen, should be all the information you need to know about Demacia. From this point on, it really doesn't matter what stories you read.
Yeah, for the most part, you kind of...
If I can recommend...
I'm surprised, like, Ezreal visited Demacia, but isn't he from Piltover? I feel like he is.
Go ahead and read the story of Silas. Right now, he is the most important Demacian because he is pushing the story forward. And close behind him, we have Lux, because she is pictured as the main character of Demacia, and she really underlines what it means to be a mage in Demacia.
Isn't she also, like, she's kind of, like, in between this whole thing? Because she has relation, like, she literally talked to Silas, right? Then it's like... But also, not only that, it's like she's... How do I say it? I would say if anyone can bring this problem to a close, it feels like it would be Lux. I don't know why, I can't explain it. But if anyone can mediate the issue, it is Lux. I think. Or at least, like, maybe that's how they want to present it. I don't know.
With that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if
very much so,
you like the concept, feel free to recommend what region we should have a look at next. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Sweet. Oh, look at this guy. Where's your cat, though? New little legends with your skins, how Pantheon's interactions reveal the lore. Alright. Anyways, yeah, so that's the video by Necrit. We got a lot of Necrit videos today, just saying all you need to know about Demacia. And that was all you need to know about Demacia. Simple enough. Alright, let's go to the next one.